I want our next guest.
We could use some help from him.
We
need an ESPN
we love
insider.
our next guest, and he's got great perspective because it's national perspective.
Yes,
he has a sophisticated sports mind. He's our buddy, the great Kevin Negandhi. Kev, there's panic in the streets, Kevin.
Oh. He's not wearing Phillies gear either.
Mine had me dying. That's great. Good to see you, buddy.
So, can you help the people? I tell them, you can't panic until kickoff. All right? Don't panic in baseball until kickoff. There's you have 2 months before the playoffs. So as long as you're right by kickoff, you get your mojo back, you start playing better ball. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Go back 2 years ago, right? They had that horrible series against the bad Cubs. And then next thing you know, they go on a run.
Great point. You're the voice of reason. I feel like I've been the voice of reason for a long time. But I got to tell you, the last week and a half, man, it has not sat well with me. And you want to know why? And because, listen, ruts happen no matter what, right? What hasn't sat well with me is specifically it's the same things that we've seen with this team over the last 2 years. When one star doesn't hit, it seems like everybody doesn't hit, right? And there are so many other holes in this lineup, and it's scaring me. Like, Stott has been really tough this season. He's going through it. When Bohm has hit this low the last 3 weeks, you could just tell that they don't have any oomph in the bottom part of that lineup. Brandon Marsh has nearly 100 strikeouts in less than 300 at-bats, man. I mean, he was given a situation as a pinch hitter. You've got to do something yesterday after going 0 for 6 the previous day. I'm not saying he's a savior, but, like, give me some life. How many times do we have to see these strikeouts and the runners in scoring position? So it's a consistent thing that we saw last year, Game 6 and Game 7 of the NLCS, that we saw in the World Series after they had that huge game with the 5 home runs. Then they get no hit, and then they look completely lost. That's concerning to me. I feel for Bryce Harper, because Bryce Harper feels like he needs to. He's the star, but that he needs to get the hit. And if he doesn't get a hit, no one else will. And these other guys have to do it. And I will bring up one instance with the team that just beat us and swept the Phillies. It was the Yankees. Literally a month ago, they were reeling. And everybody's talking about no one can hit. It's just Judge and Soto, right? And Judge at one point a couple weeks ago said, I believe in everybody else. It eventually will come around. And guess what? All that lineup needed to do was come to South Philly and hit at the bank, and it came around for everybody else. So, like, these other guys have got to pick it up and help the Bryce Harpers of the world, because he can't carry it every single game. And he had instances the last 2, but this is the instance, I think, of a superstar trying to do too much because it's all on his shoulders.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. Isn't that baseball? Because you see it all the time. Like, teams will go quiet together, right? Like, so JT is an important piece of this thing. He's just coming back. He's been scuffling since he got back. At some point, now this is just the laws of summer. At some point, you get out of it, right? And all of a sudden, the lineup doesn't look as bad because now Rojas is, and I agree with you with Stott, he's scuffling bad. But now you don't have to play Rojas. Now all of a sudden JT's hitting, right? Now all of a sudden Bohm's back to get his plate coverage, right? Now all of a sudden Bryce goes on a torrid streak. I mean, I still believe that this lineup is potent. I like the Hayes thing against lefties, right? So now you have Hayes against lefties and Marsh against righties. That should work.
No, you're right. If you follow baseball, it's 162 games. Everybody knows a lull's going to happen. And guess what? You know what the lull was for the Phillies the previous 2 years? It was April, May, and June, right? And now they flipped the script. And I when they jumped out to this start, I was like, they're going to come down to earth eventually. It's the timing of it, to do it in a series with the Yankees. The previous series, or they're scuffling. Now they've got 10 games in front of them on the road. Now the Mets are starting to get hot. The Braves are starting to figure some things out, and they're not healthy. And then the thing that concerns me, Ant, is Ranger going on the DL.
Yeah.
Sanchez, looking human.
Yeah.
And that's been the issue where's that third and fourth guy? And I'm sorry, but I can't go through it with Alvarado again. I can't.
Oh my gosh.
And listen, they figured, they were like, we're not dealing with Sir Anthony anymore. We're not dealing with Soto anymore. Appreciate that. I don't want to hear. I don't want the buildup anymore about Alvarado. He's starting to figure it out. He's starting to we need Estevez look really good, bona fide closer. There's just, what gets me is that there are so many still major holes when one guy doesn't feel like he's hitting the baseball. And right now, Harper's going through a major slump, and everybody else kind of follows through, like you said. It would have been just great, one of the guys in the top three doing something in that series. We're not asking all three to hit. We're not asking Schwarber. We're not asking Harper and Turner, all three. But one of the three. That would be great, especially with runners in scoring position when they had those games won the previous two nights.
You know what the best is? If panic is fire, Kev, you just threw gasoline on it. Because the audience, the chat room is going bananas. See, Kevin says it. Kevin said, listen, of everything you said, my biggest concern with this club at the moment is the starting pitching, right? Like the starting pitching, only because Ranger, right?
Yes.
Only because, you brought up Sanchez yesterday. I think he's pitched fine, but those guys have thrown a lot of innings. VG said at the deadline they would have been nice to add another starter. You saw Flaherty go to the Dodgers. Yeah. That is to me, getting the bridge from now August through September is a little daunting, right? With the rotation.
Dombrowski did that last year with Lorenzen, right?
Right.
And then he throws a no-no. It was a bridge guy, right? The Suarez stuff really concerns me, man. Because listen, when he was dealing as the number 3 guy that first 2 months, you saw this team, man. This team was incredible. And I'm just putting on Ranger. I absolutely love Ranger. But that is a major concern, especially when you're talking about a 7-game series and we have high hopes with this team. I will also say we're Philadelphians. And
that's the beauty of you.
And we often carry the previous team's failures into the next season. And when I say that, I'm saying, I saw a lot of 10-1 Eagles collapses this week when describing the Phillies. And I'm like, this is what we do as Philadelphians. We don't resolve one season. We carry that angst into the next, team's season, right? And then that carries over. And ever since the Eagles lost in the Super Bowl, that carried right into another second-round disappointment in the Celtics series with the Sixers 2 springs ago. That carried into, oh, God, hope again. And then the collapse of game 6 and 7 of the NLCS at home against the Diamondbacks. And then, oh, my God, we're going to turn around. And then the collapse of the Eagles. And then, oh, my God, we're going to turn around the Sixers again. And then now we're doing it in this whole Phillies experience. And it's not just 2 weeks. That's the thing people need to understand. This is not just 2 weeks. This is a buildup of 2 years. And I didn't even bring up the Flyers and how they collapsed the final month. And they were about to get a playoff spot, right? You have that carryover of the angst to the next team, to the next team, to the next team. So we're short-fused and we just get to a bad place very quickly instead of, hey, we're going to be okay. Because think about it, Ant. Just think about this. Think about how therapeutic it was when we won the Super Bowl. Because whatever happened, the Sixers got really hot right after they won the Super Bowl. The next month they were rolling, right? They were rolling, and it was this is amazing, right? And it just carried over this feel good, right? But then if they fell short, it was that's okay. That's just one team, because guess what? We got the Super Bowl. But the more we're removed from it, the more we've seen the collapses of these other good teams. We've carried over and a lot of that. And a lot of that.
This is what we need right after this.
Hey, and I've got plenty of that right over here. Trust me. And that's not even the good stuff. And that's not even the good stuff. Yeah, I'll pull out this one. We're going to crack this one open soon. We'll
Blaze.
Yeah, we got a few of those. So,
I like it, brother. I like it. You know what's funny is you are a true Philadelphian. I mean, a true blue Philadelphian. You have taken your angst to Connecticut. It stays with you. It's funny. I always like to separate. I can't do the Eagles into I can't carry the Eagles second half fail, the collapse to the Phillies. I always got to separate the lanes. Now, I'll take the Eagles to the Eagles, right? So, or the Phillies to the Phillies. But I hear you. We, as 4-for-4 people, it's a big circle. And I see all the memes after one season ends. Oh, it's a Philadelphia sports fan. And it's the cycle, right? And we're the rat in the trap, running, doing the wheel, the hamster wheel.
Totally agree. And listen, it has been a little bit magical because after what the Phillies went through in that debacle of the NLCS, the Eagles had just literally that week beaten the Dolphins.
Yes.
And that was a phenomenal experience that night. And you were feeling really good, and the Eagles kind of perked you up because they're like, all right, I can wash this Phillies feeling away, and we've got Eagles the next thing. The problem is we've got PTSD.
Yes.
Right? So the minute, stuff hits the fan and we go back to this place, we go then to the place where we were. And that's the problem. And I do a really good job separating it. And so when I saw the 10-1, I was like, well, we can't do that. They're two separate things. But I also understand it. I also understand the space that we go to, and you're like, we're back here again.
I love you. I swear to God, I love you. You're just a treasure. This portion of the program brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Go to TrueMark.com/PHL to find out the credit union difference. So, Kev, I might as well continue the theme with you. So, Embiid benched at the Olympics.
Yeah.
He looks horrible. He's out of shape. Steve Kerr's like, sit down, big fella.
Getting booed from the French people.
I know.
Let me tell you, I had to do Sports Center yesterday at 6 o'clock, and I obviously had to read that Phillies highlight. I had to do the USA basketball highlight, and then my first question to Windhorst in France, I should say, because he was in Lille, was where was Joel Embiid? And it wasn't me who asked the question in the sense of, hey, I'm going straight to a Sixer angle.
Right.
No, it was like,
that's the story.
Joel Embiid not starting.
That's the number one story.
And the fear of, oh man, they're realizing he doesn't look like he's in that great shape. And Bam can run the floor, and AD can run the floor, and I don't know, man. It's a little depressing. It's a little depressing. So
here's the thing: it could either be the greatest thing for us as Sixer people. True. Right? Or the worst. It could be the greatest in that he's embarrassed, and that makes him have a chip on his shoulder and just say, bleep y'all, I'm going to come in and dominate, right? Yeah. Come in good shape, better shape, and have a big season. Or this embarrassment that it's an embarrassment. Let's be real. He was all excited about the citizenship, playing for the country, and he's been an embarrassment. And then that just puts him over the cliff. One or the other. I'm hoping that it has the effect of, I'm going to get mad and show everybody how great I am.
You know what and excellent point by you right there with the observation. You know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping too that Joel's an emotional guy. He wears his
Yes.
emotions on his sleeve. And when you watch that team's a bunch of superstars, right? And they're all the man wherever they go, right? And Joel's got to realize that the team doesn't revolve around him, and you can't carry the cloud over your head. And I'm sure, like it probably affects him a little bit that he's getting booed for the reasons that they have in France for his citizenship and stuff. And I think that's he wants to dominate. He's got to let the game come to him a little bit. Like you don't need to be the man on the floor every single time on every possession. Don't worry, but the ball's going to come to you. It'll find you. Those guys are pretty damn good. You just hope that he can take something away from that. The one thing I was good about him not playing is like, all right, he's not going to get hurt. He won't get hurt this game.
Right.
I don't want him to get hurt.
And it's such a good lesson for him because where he gets in trouble is when he tries to do too much, right?
Exactly.
It's always, and now you got Paul George, Maxey, and really what this team needs him to be is an incredible sweep the glass rebounder, and obviously, go to the line and get your points. Well, his points will always come, but he really needs to focus on boards and blocking shots.
Yep, and being the man when we need you. Late in games, do not crush yourself and say it's got to be all about the offense through me. Let Maxey cook. Maxey did a great job. Like when you talk about like just basketball IQ, I started watching him closely. I watch him all the time, but I started watching him closely towards the end of the season because I was like, okay, how is he going to handle the situation now as these games get bigger and bigger and bigger? And I love that he gets guys involved, and then towards the end of the game, all right, I'm going to try to take over. Like Maxey's just his IQ is really off the charts, man. And I hope Embiid understands that you could play off somebody who gets it, who wants it as much as you, but at the same time knows that it's time to turn it on. And it doesn't. Sometimes that does not include always having the basketball in your hand.
You know what I never liked is when. In the first quarter, he'll have like 12 points, and he'll dominate the ball in the first quarter. I like to me, you're expending so much early like that.
Yes.
I remember Jordan. Jordan always took a back seat in the first quarter. He always got everybody else touches, and I always thought that was important to get everybody else the touches. So then you get in the flow of the game, and then you start to get yours.
Totally, and that's when the team will need you on the back end and that energy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk about something like positive and feeling good about the Eagles? Can we feel good about them?
Yeah, I think so. You feel good? How are you feeling about the Birds?
I feel really good about the Eagles. And like every now and then, it's like one of those. Oh shoot, we got Saquon Barkley.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
like,
yes,
like I think
yes.
it when it happens early in the off season, and then you get life takes over, and then you're reminded right around this time, and you start seeing clips and stuff, and you're like, yo, they got Saquon Barkley, like. That's pretty damn exciting. And they got Kellen Moore's offense. That's pretty damn exciting. Howie's done just a tremendous job of finding a way to make all these stars fit. And I hosted NFL Live yesterday, and we're talking a little bit about DJ Moore getting his landmark deal with the Bears and, the dysfunction with the Cowboys. And what really stood out, Marcus Spears is on the air with me, and we go on a commercial break. We like to give each other the business. He's a Cowboy guy, I'm an Eagle guy, and he just went off about specifically the whole Cowboy experience and how they're a poverty franchise and how that annoys him, right? Because they want the discounts for the quarterback and CeeDee Lamb. And he looked at me and he goes, Kev, and yet your team, you got the quarterback under contract. You got the 1A and the number one wide receiver already under contract. And he's like, and it's no problems. You guys handle it and you deal with it and you figure it out. And I was like, yeah, and we got Saquon. And I was like, and then you look at the Niners, because the Niners bill with Brock Purdy's coming. And it just feels really like the Eagles, management-wise, are in a good space, and now it's up to the players and the draft picks that they expended and all the capital that they put in. They've got to step up and meet the potential, especially the Georgia guys up front. I really, really feel good about this Eagles team. I'm really curious to see how they look in Brazil.
There you go, Kev. Kev ends on the high note, man. I love
it. Man, we needed that.
You picked everybody up, man. You picked everybody up. Good. We love you, brother. Best to my nephews, okay?
I appreciate it, yeah. My love to your nephews and the fam, all right? Be good.
The great Kevin Negandhi.
We all silly like the mayor.